Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 21 Hats podcast. I'm Lauren Feldman, your host. Every week, I sit down with three business owners to talk about the challenges they're facing. It's the kind of conversation you don't often hear in public. Our panelists address difficult topics like why their business isn't making as much money as they think it should, why their digital marketing isn't working, or why exactly they hired their brother-in-law. Owning a business can be a lonely and isolating pursuit, but at least you'll know that you're not the only one facing these issues. Got a question you'd like us to address? Send it to us and follow us on Twitter at 21_hats or on our website, 21hats.com. Welcome to another 21 Hats podcast. Let's meet this week's lineup. Back with us today are Jay Goltz, who has several businesses in Chicago, including a picture framing shop, artist frame service, and a home furnishing store, Jason Home. William Vanderbloemen, who is CEO of Vanderbloemen Search Group, a recruiting firm in Houston that specializes in working with churches and other faith-based organizations. And Dana White, who's founder of Paralee Boyd, a chain of hair salons based in Detroit. Heading into 2020, I want to talk about how you guys are thinking about the new year, what you're expecting out of it. Are you concerned about the economy? Are you planning to grow? Are you expecting to hire? What has to happen in the coming year for it to be a successful year for you?
We started our firm in the fall of 2008. I quit a secure job to start a business, which is a brilliant move, right?
Well, it seems to have worked out for you.
We started in the greatest recession and had good growth. So I'm hopeful we would be able to do well. Somebody told me one time, I don't know if it's true or not, but they're like, man, I like your business. Why is that? Well, if the economy is doing well, people are hiring. And if the economy is doing badly, everybody needs religion. So how do you lose?
I've actually spoken to a lot of people who think starting in a recession is a great thing.
It was great for us.
It's harder, but if you survive, it gets easier when the economy gets better.
Oh, that's a good lesson. So I'd add one that I think was true. So we tapped into a felt need, but very few people had the money to try this new thing in 2008. I think if we were not in that recession when we started, we would have oversold what we could deliver and would have just imploded because everybody would have said, sign me up. And I, being a sales sort of guy, I would have said, yes, and then not been able to deliver. But it's almost like, I don't know if you guys have watched the old Karate Kid movie, but 2008, 9, 10 were wax on, wax off, learn the craft.
Wow. Are you expecting a recession going into 2020?
I'm just a preacher, Lauren, who's trying to learn how to run a business. I really don't know. I know that I think that whatever the economy does for us, we've said the future in our business, and I think it probably translates to other sectors, the future belongs to the agile. So like if opportunities for growth pop up, we need to have cash in reserve and systems ready to go, ready to move. If the bottom falls out, we don't need to be tethered to long-term overhead costs that we can't shed quickly. So we've been focusing over the last year on increasing our agility rather than worrying about what the economy is going to do, so that if we surge forward, we're ready, and if it shrinks back, then we can make those contractions and not be caught in some long-term mess.
What does that mean to you? How do you increase your agility?
For us, agility means that we're trying to be financially agile. And for us, and I know this isn't true for everybody, that means we just don't take on debt. That way we don't have a note we have to pay. And we also don't take on investors, so we don't have to answer to the why and the return here. If we choose to take a down year because we want to try and expand while the economy is contracting, that's our call. Now, smart friends of mine have very different approaches on this. But for us, agility is cash agility, and then it's also space agility. And we've done this recently. We made a move over the last year. We've tried for a number of different reasons to have our systems and our process to be much more of a thing that's taught than caught. Mm-hmm. I'm a horrible manager. I'm terrible. The way, how do you learn search? Well, the answer used to be hang out with William for a few months. Like that was the onboarding process. That doesn't scale. So now we have systems that can be taught well enough that we can say, well, you don't have to be in Houston. We could have regional offices where we're closer to our customers, not all virtual, but regional. And that means we have less central office space, which means we have a lower lease that we're responsible for. And if for some reason we needed to expand, we could open more regional offices. And if we needed to contract, we can just close them down. And I'd use the word WeWork, but I think WeWork has become a 4-letter word. So something like
that would be 6, but who's counting?
Right.
Something like we can start small with our model, with the no debt, no investor. We can get a shared office space in Atlanta and start with 2 or 3 people and build it up. And then when it's shown enough legs that we're ready to buy a building that we own rather than leasing, we can do that. And we have agility. So we've done a few things. We've tightened up our systems so we can make them more portable. We've tightened our office space here to lower our commitment to a lease, which I don't think I'll ever do again. And then we have made sure that we're cash positive so that we have the agility to expand or contract as circumstances dictate. I think the future belongs to the agile.
Dana, how about you? What are your expectations heading into 2020?
I have this, pie in the sky. Oh my goodness, this will be a great year if we do this. But, over the past couple of weeks, after spending time with my mentor, talking to, business owners that I really, truly value their feedback, the pie in the sky may come. But this year for me and for Paralee Boyd, it's just about buckling down and getting even more into the weeds of the business, right? I am a very process-driven person. Paralee Boyd runs on process. We have an onboarding process that we track. We have so many processes that we track. I think processes aside, I really want to focus on the culture. I've done that a little bit, but I want to start kicking it up to the point where the processes and the culture run hand in hand, because it's the culture that make the processes applicable, if that makes any sense, because of the people. And it's really about getting my hand deeper into every aspect of Paralee Boyd. Like William said, hey, I'm a horrible manager. I am not a great manager because I'm a former labor organizer. So for me, it's, what does this feel good, right? And even if it might hurt the business, as long as it feels good, that can't be my managing style anymore. I have help with that, but I've also grown as a manager in the past year. So my goal for, 2020, as far as management, is just being able to put my hands deeper into every aspect of my business, and really managing the finances. I think when we talk about getting your hands dirty in the business, really I have a very good sense of my numbers, but having a better handle, touching my numbers every day, 3 or 4 times a week, just to kind of manage that better. And then lastly, just growing the business. My challenge has always been getting the word out, marketing. And so I've already begun putting the team together, giving me low cost options to just do the social media and digital marketing that I can do before I pay to hand it off. And by the time I'm ready to pay to hand it off, I will hopefully yield results with butts and seats from what I've done already. So
I love your self-awareness that if it felt good, that was good management. I think for me at a younger age, and maybe some other entrepreneurs can relate, it was if it's shiny, it must be good. It was like a garden hose nobody was holding with water spewing everywhere.
Yeah. Our analogy wasn't shiny. For us, it was if it, like, we use food, right? So, oh my gosh, it's this, beautiful ganache chocolate layered cake with all this, but we can't live off of that. We need protein, right? Like, we need carbs and vegetables and fruit. And so even though, green beans aren't sexy, it's what you need to live.
Wait, you're in the hair salon business, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You're not opening a restaurant on the side, are you?
No. I'm a diner by, I love to dine. That's like my hobby. But that's how we kind of say, marshmallows are great, but you can't sustain off of marshmallows. So for 2020, it's really about getting those meat, potatoes, vegetables, and fruits, and setting up our buffet. And then, towards the end of the buffet, oh my goodness, we have this artisanal cheese. Woo! The pie in the sky for me is potentially franchising or opening up another location. I'm still kind of back and forth on the franchise bit because it's a huge commitment. But yeah, That's my 2020. What about you, Jay?
I've been through, I don't know, I've lost count. I probably lived through 7 recessions, and I've learned that you just can't predict anything. And we're living in such volatile times that, yeah, you need to stay flexible. So my main thing is, given that my business is fairly mature, I have to continually keep my eye on evolution and keep changing it because the market's changing dramatically. So I'm working on that. And I'm working on making sure I have cash. And I just want to defend something that's got a terrible reputation, debt. Most people that are rich anywhere have used debt to get rich. And most people that go broke have used debt to go broke. So debt is not good or bad. And William, in your case, you don't have inventory, right? I don't think you have inventory.
Not
you
that I'm
don't
aware
have.
of.
Yes, you don't have equipment that's already made. You're not buying $100,000 printing presses or something. For someone like you, it probably makes sense not to take on debt because it begs the question, why would you need to? So you don't have
Spot
to.
on. Spot
Someone
on.
like me, I have to tell you, taking on debt could be the safest thing you could do because when things go bad, you can't borrow money. So for someone like me, it might make great sense to go take out a mortgage on a property that there's no mortgage on, get a pile of cash, stick it into an account and have it there if you need it. Because if the economy goes bad, the banks all hide under the table. And so having debt actually gives you cash in some cases.
What are you thinking heading into 2020, Jay? Are you concerned about the economy and how dependent on the economy do you think your businesses are?
I'm concerned about the country. I can't turn the TV. For the first time ever, I work out every morning on the elliptical and I always put on, one of the news stations. I've had to stop doing it because I can't deal with it anymore.
It's a lot.
And the car drive in, I swear this is the case. Thank God for Sirius Radio because I can listen to the Frank Sinatra station and pretend like everything's okay. Because if I turn the news things on, by the time I get to work, I'm already anxious and depressed. So yeah, I am concerned about where things are going. Yes, I'm watching cash for sure. I'm absolutely watching long-term commitments. I'm staying flexible. I do agree with William, and this is a general comment, the no partner thing. I think that's a good plan.
No partner, no investor.
I think that's always a good plan. Now, I recognize that some people need to do that, and I'm not criticizing it, but I think it's a true statement to say if you can avoid having investors or partners, that's a good idea.
I just remember when we first started out and it was just me, staff meetings were awesome.
Yeah.
Like everybody got along and all the votes flew through and done on time and nobody felt like it went too long. And it's kind of, and so now it's like my investor meetings are awesome.
I will tell you, someone gave me some good advice. The guy was in his 60s, 70s by the time he told me this. He said something very poignant. He said, long term, you have 3 potential enemies in business. Your landlord, true. I own most of my properties, makes my life much easier. 2, partners, don't have any. 3, the bank. Okay, the banks, I'm not painting the banks as bad guys, but they're your partners on some degree. They look at your books and they can control you. And I am very close to getting rid of the bank because I just had the revelation of there's 2 sides of the bank. There's the real estate side and there's the business side. When you do business loans, credit lines, they crawl into your they
crawl into your what?
They're in your business. They're looking at everything, and you basically have to answer to the bank. And you know what? I don't want to answer to anybody. So I've just figured out lately. I've had this revelation. All I need to do is go take a mortgage on a property that I have no mortgage on. Take that cash and use that as my credit line, quote unquote. And the bank, the real estate side is all they care about is what's your debt to equity on the building. They're not coming in and asking you about your sales projections. I encourage people to think about if you can buy the property that you're in, not a bad thing because most of the risk to real estate is having a tenant that pays rent every month. If you're your own tenant, it's a no-brainer. If you talk to attorneys and accountants, they'll tell you there's plenty of people that end up retiring off of their building they sold when they were done because the business was worth so little. And so, and with one of the greatest things the government does is the SBA loans. You can buy a building for 10% down, which is what I did. So those are all long-term strategies that can be extremely powerful. And as far as the moment, what am I looking to for next year?
Yeah, that's the question I asked.
Possible volatility, election coming, making sure that I have enough cash to withstand whatever comes along, and at the same time keeping an eye open for new opportunities, because the internet is still wreaking havoc with the business world, and there's opportunities to be had from it, and the world's changing very quickly, and you need to keep your eye on it. 40 years ago, I watched my father's dime store. If anyone still knows what that is, I watched it slowly die over 20 years. I watched my father-in-law had a clothes store slowly die. I'm very aware of the fact that you can't just put your head in the sand and say, computer schmooters are going to be gone in a few years.
No.
Dana, how about you? Do you think your business is sensitive to the ups and downs of the economy?
Yes and no. I think it depends on where you are financially. I think my business is priced at a point that is I've been told it's somewhat recession proof. I do believe we'll see a downturn. I mean, if the economy tanks, however, I'm providing a service that is needed. We provide a service of just basic service. We might start losing people because they do it at home, but we're also, it helps in recession, similar to alcohol. You can pour a drink at home, but it just feels better when you're at a bar for some people with other people. So it's the same thing with a hair salon. Like, it's just done better. You might save some money, but it's a whole experience. So I think for Paralee Boyd, if the economy were to tank, we would see, a little backbeat, if you will. But I do think that we're one of those businesses that if we wouldn't tank completely because of the economy.
I think your business is recession resistant to a degree, clearly. But I read an article years ago that was really insightful. It talked about guys that go to country clubs that play golf and looking for the ball. And they found out that when the economy got bad, people will spend more time looking for their ball than when the economy is good, because they can't do anything about their car lease. They can't do anything about their mortgage payment. They can't do anything about their health insurance. But they can spend 5 more minutes looking for the ball. And I think the haircuts are similar. I think there are some people that'll think, what, instead of getting my haircut every 4 weeks, I think I'll stretch to 6. There'll be some of that for sure. Some of that.
Absolutely.
I'd have to look on the interwebs to find it. But I read a study not too long ago, Dana, that, Revlon's biggest boost was in an economic downturn. Women wanted something to make them look good when everything else was bad.
They wanted to feel good. That's exactly it. So if the economy isn't doing good, we have a lot of factors that bode well for us. That's why the experience is very important. That's why the price point is very important. Your higher end salons, they do see a downturn because women aren't paying $200 to go get their hair done. I've only been open for 7 years, and there were some, jobs aren't as great right now, but we saw, women who had appointment-based higher end salons, they started coming, and we gained new customers because, hey, you do my hair just as well. Why am I spending $100 more? And then a lot of it was a social status thing. Sometimes women go because they want to be known to go to that salon. I'm not really seeing where the economy is affecting. It's too bad.
Okay, next topic. Also, I think relevant for this end of 1 year, beginning of a new year time period. I'm curious how all of you handle performance reviews and also bonuses and compensation. Do you tie them together? Is it a once a year thing? William, why don't we start with you?
Well, this is a new thing for us. We've always been, as a startup, I was, and still am to some extent, but was highly allergic to overhead, and caused rashes and things. And so we would pay people a fair wage as a base salary, but like, hey, trust in us, and when we grow, we'll share the growth. And we had to learn to not call it profit sharing, because then you got to issue, K-1s and all kinds of things. So we actually, so bad preacher joke, but we named it Profit, Prophet, sharing. And
that's funny.
And it was basically, if we grow, we all grow together. And we didn't know till the end of the year we're an S Corp, so the books close on December 31st. And there's all this, get all the cash in that you can by December 31 so we can share all we can. And we had big fun, and most fun meetings of the year were at the end of December. Go have a beer with William and get your bonus check. And it was awesome. Now we're paying better base salaries. We have benefits. We're like a real business. We still want to share the growth, and we do. but we're moving toward a different model where it's not so much of the compensation tied to bonus, and you don't have people running around at year end wondering what's going to happen. We're actually moving toward intermittent bonuses and rewards tied to particular performances throughout the year. And if there is an annual bonus, it will no longer happen in December, because it's like, who wants to be the Grinch at Christmas? When we first started out, we're on meteoric growth. It's like, well, that's fun. But when you have a year of 8, 9, 10% growth and it's not 50 and the check's not as fat as it was, well, then you're talking to Clark Griswold on Christmas Vacation, and he's like, well, where's my bonus? I need to build the pool or whatever it was he wanted. And so we've tried to remove it from the holiday season, just so we don't run the risk of messing up holidays or mixing the message. And then we've also moved to lower percentage bonuses, just to a healthier, more predictable workplace. Mm-hmm. And then we've also said, let's not make it all one annual bonus, but let's do some that are intermittent. I jokingly said, we probably ought to study how slot machines get people coming back. Like, how often do you pay out so that people come back? And I don't mean that crudely, because I love our people and I want to reward them. But we think that a combination of an annual reward that's not tied to Christmas and some seemingly random but tied to performance rewards throughout the year will actually create a happier and more fulfilling experience for the employees.
What do you see as the real goal with these bonuses? Is it are you trying to motivate people, or is it a thank you?
Is it an incentive, or is it a thank you?
So for me, we're still small enough. I mean, we're a micro niche business, right? And we've 45 full-time employees. I would love have the upside of people feeling some ownership stake in the company. Now, we've not done like a ESOP kind of program, and I don't know that we'll ever do that. But I think the value proposition in an ESOP is everyone feels like an owner, and they pick up a piece of trash in the hall when they see it, or they take care of something that's, quote, not in the job description. There's more of an all-in mentality. So the best days for us are when we're all working together, irrespective of whether it's not what my team does or what my job description says. And I may be, living some utopian dream thinking that can keep happening. Maybe it's as you grow as a business that gets harder, but we're going to try and maintain it. And one of the ways we're trying to maintain it is through basically saying, if the company grows, we all grow.
How about you, Dana?
Well, so, in our last podcast, I shared about me hiring a new operations manager, and that's working out very well. So now that we have more structure in regards to performance reviews with this new operations coordinator, we gave everybody a raise. And we've been very deliberate about incentivizing people financially through performance, right? So it's for us, no bonuses, no. We have a younger group, and this is not a salary-based position. And so definitely not profit sharing. But what we do is, based on your performance, here is a $100 gift card, or based on, your review. We don't really incentivize for their review, but we, are starting to say thank you. Next Friday is the gift exchange. We do these little things that kind of go a long way with the staff. We're going to start doing PB bucks, Paralegal Boyd bucks, and the managers will start giving those out to staff members during, shifts, as well as reading the kudos. We have a kudos box, and they leave notes to each other, and we read those out loud and give it to them. And then when somebody performs well, we give you a Paralegal Boyd buck, and then you add those up. And if you get up to $100 or whatever denomination you want to get to, you can redeem those for a gift card of your choice for that amount. So we don't really base off performance as far as, an incentive buys. We don't say, hey, good review, here's, $500. No, but through our key performance indicators, you've been performing well. So we incentivize you with a reward of some sort.
Do you do annual performance reviews?
We do quarterly.
And is that working for you?
Yeah, it is, because we measure your consistency and speed. right? So we understand that there's a person behind that flat iron. So we want to check in when we notice, hey, the timing is going down or any variance, we bring it up at that next quarterly review. And then they're not punitive at all. That's just not our culture. It's a check-in with you so you can let us know how we're doing. And we check in with you to praise you and recommend any areas of improvement. And if we see areas of improvement, it's based on what the connection we have with you as your employer. How are you doing? Because we're noticing in your work, just talking about what's going on with them and how we can help, not so much in your personal life, but how can we refocus you to come back and perform? And a lot of times that conversation is all that's needed. There's no added training needed because we're watching that. We just kind of connect with them and say, hey, what's going on? How are you doing? And then they kind of turn it around because they know they're being watched because you work for an employer that cares. And we want to help get you to perform at your best. And then we've also had reviews where, they've kind of outgrown the position. So now we're looking to transition you out. But it's all above board. It's never nasty. Some people would like to make it nasty, but I have a really strong management team that keeps it even keel.
Do you tie compensation discussions to the performance reviews?
Annually we do. So when we get to that fourth performance review, we for the most part, give you a raise for your time in. A raise or a promotion, right? Or both.
So you people have an expectation that at the end of the year, they're likely to get a raise?
Based on their performance, right? And they've known over the year, this is how you've been doing. And we also give them time to correct whatever going on. And they, for the most part, they do. We have not given somebody a raise. I think with training, it's about communicating clearly to your staff what they need to do in order to perform well at this position. And either they want to do it or they don't. For those that don't want to do it, we have a way of transitioning them out. For way they do it, we have a way of working with them to get them, just to where they need to be. And they're not hard tasks. They're not, hey, we need you to stand on your foot for 18 hours a day. No, they're just, hey, it's taking you 40 minutes to curl one head. We need that done between 15 and 25. Why don't we set you up to go to these following trainings to get you there? And there's all the encouragement that we give them along the way. We really kind of clap for them along the way. So then when their review comes up, hey, you're not surprised because you've been performing like a rock star.
Do you worry about creating an expectation for an annual raise that you may not be able to meet in coming years?
I would if we didn't communicate clearly. Our raises aren't huge. They're incremental. They're like maybe 25 cents, 50 cents. A lot of times the raises come when we promote them. So if we take you from stylist to lead stylist, your commission goes up, right? So they're still based on, the amount of heads that you do, and your hourly salary. So your hourly salary may go up 25%, but you're actually up for a promotion to lead stylist where more money comes in. That's where you want to make your money. But we are very clear that if you're not performing, I don't care if you've been here for 5 years, you're not going to get a raise. But we're going to do everything that we can to help get you there.
How about you, Jay?
I've been all over on this thing. I used to give everyone bonuses, and then what I've learned the hard way is, because everything I learn, I have to learn the hard way. When things are great, everybody's happy. But as I said, I've been through 7 recessions. The last one in 2008 was brutal. And you can explain it all you want. At the end of the day, people are really unhappy that they didn't get their bonus. And I've come to the conclusion they're not my partners, because what I've learned is when things go bad and I lose $300,000 and I take out a second mortgage on my house, no one comes into my office and say, hey, boss, can I give you some money? You gave it to me on the upside. I want to be there for you on the downside. Yeah. So, I've recognized they're not my partners, A. B, so a lot of them are making 30, 40, 50. They really need the money. So and this is just my opinion at this point, but it's a well-educated opinion because I've got everything from salespeople to production workers to guys working on the dock. I would not want a big percentage of their income to be based upon this because they just can't afford that. And so this is what happened to me. I was giving out bonuses every year. 2008 happened. I'm lucky to be in business still. I'm in the home furnishing sector. Between the home starts and the picture framing is absolutely a luxury item. Unlike haircuts, you could stop picture framing for a year and nothing's going to happen to you. I mean, your life will be a little less happy, but you can just stop. So my business literally took a 30% hit overnight, and I was in no position to be giving out bonuses. So every year I thought, okay, this is going to be the year I'm going to start again. And then every holiday season, I have to stand there in front of everybody with this albatross, say, listen, guys, sorry, but we're still not where we need to be. I can't give it. And every year I would dread this thing. So I finally figured out, I went back to my old thing for production people in particular. I've got like 50 people. We give out like $25 a year. So it's just something to say thanks for hanging around. So yeah, the new employee gets lunch, but the person that's been with me for 20 years gets $500. Now, I just did that right before I came here to get on this podcast. I just had the handout. I got one guy, my top guy's been there 33 years. He got a nice big check. I've got lots of people that have been there 20 years. And you know what? The 5 or 10 grand that I ended up giving out, it's never going to make that big a difference in the scale of the size of my company. I got rid of this huge albatross on me now, and I can't tell you how much happy I am.
What's the difference, Jay? Why is the albatross gone? You're still giving out.
The albatross is gone because I don't have to worry about how much money did I make, how much am I going to split up, that even no matter how much money I make, there's years where I make a good amount of money, and there's years that I lose money, and there's years that I make 50 grand. So the albatross is off because the 5 or 10 grand that I'm giving out in bonuses is just not going to make a big difference.
So you're always going to give that amount?
Yeah, unless it's really bad. And if it's really bad, everybody's going to be happy to have a job. So, I would never say I'll always give it out. But if the economy really goes bad, everyone will understand we can't do it. But I can't tell you how much better I feel that I don't have to worry about it every year. I know this sounds preposterous to people that aren't in business like mine. I have such a huge inventory and so much cost of goods sold. I really don't know how much money I make until I take inventory. I'm not selling televisions where they're all in a SKU and we can barcode them. I'm using material. I'm using framing material. I'm selling things at different prices. There's sales. There could be a huge swing depending on what the inventory is. So I don't even know how much money I made in December. So I just feel so much more relieved now that it's just clean and simple and people are happy. And the first time I went to it, I had a woman working for me that, has only been there for a year. And I gave her the check. I go, sorry, it's not much. And she goes, oh, no, that's okay. And she appreciated the fact they'd been there for that long and they were getting their $200, $300, $400, $500. And there was no resentment whatsoever. It's just a clean, simple, 100% fair. Everyone knows what the formula is versus you start giving it out based on, oh, he really worked hard this year. And all of a sudden the raise review and the bonus is like mushed together. And I think that's a huge mistake. And it also helps me when I give the raise reviews now, how long you've been here is out of the formula. Because I will tell you what I've seen companies do. They give their 3%, 4%, 5% raises every year because, well, you can't give the guy a quarter. And next thing you know, 20 years later, one person's making $20 an hour standing next to someone who's doing the exact same job, making $15 an hour. And that's how you go broke slowly. So it's really helped me to keep that out of the formula. We do once a year raise reviews, but we do reviews every day. I mean, if somebody's doing something well, hopefully we notice and say something. And if there's a problem, so we don't store it up and have one dumping on them once a year, once a quarter. And I feel very comfortable, it took me 41 years to get to this place. Dana, I'm glad you said I've only been in business 7 years. You're right. 7 years isn't a long time. It really isn't. People need to understand in business, this takes years to figure out. So I'm very comfortable with what we're doing now. I know this open book management thing, a lot of people swear by it. I'm not criticizing it. I just know that you've got 3 choices. No bonuses. I wouldn't argue in some places that works. A badly done bonus program where people feel like they didn't get their fair share is worse than no bonus. And then there's my approach, which is just the yearly thing, no harm, no foul, clean, simple. I'm sure not as good as a well-tuned performance bonus thing, but better than nothing. So I'm comfortable with where I've landed. And I continually try to figure out, is there some way I can do more of this whole participative, thing? But It's very, very tricky. And I got all different kinds of positions and jobs, and it's just not worth the brain damage to me at this point.
William, I'm curious, do you think your employees compare notes on how much they make or what they get in a bonus, and do you worry about that?
Is there a company where people don't compare notes on what they make?
They do it in the bathroom, by the way. That's how they do it. Because I used to have parties. They go in the bathroom and open up the envelopes. They didn't do it in front of you. But they're doing it.
There's this word that's used throughout the New Testament, and there was murmuring. And I think that's describing most businesses. There's murmuring.
Do you try to manage the murmuring?
No. I mean, we don't. There's nothing punitive. I don't even know if we have anything prescriptive. Do not talk to each other about what you make. I think it's going to happen. We certainly don't post it. I don't think that's helpful. But I just don't know how you govern that. And maybe I'll be back on this podcast in a year or two talking about, oh man, did I learn the hard way? But for now, it's just not something that we publish nor try and protect. Now, what happens with the bonuses? That used to be a bigger conversation than it is now. We did finally put our salespeople on a form of commission, mainly because they came to me and said, I think we all, even if you paid us the very same amount of money, we are all going to perform better if we have a number on our head, which was really interesting. So we did finally say, okay, we all are no longer part of bonus. Let's just put you on straight. Here's what happens if you sell this and if you sell that. So I guess people know sales numbers.
There's just nothing to argue with. They know how much they sold. They know the percentage. That's clean.
It's your annual review. I think we all have a mutual acquaintance in Cliff Oxford. Cliff wrote an article, I think for you, Lauren, years ago. What do you do with the brilliant jerk? I guess the idea, at least what I took away from it, was what do you do with the sales guy who's hitting all the numbers but is a total rear end around the office and ruins your culture? So in our annual review, we've now for years we've codified what our 9 cultural values are, what it means to live those out, and the employee gives their version of how they review themselves, and the manager or direct report says, here's how I view you, and your compensation is directly tied to how well you're living out the cultural values. So it's not all of your merit pay, but it's certainly part of it. So the sales guy could make all the sales, but if he's a rear end, he's not going to get all his commission.
I can tell you that's an ongoing problem with outside salespeople. It's common that the person that brings in all the big business comes in and dumps stuff on the desk. Here, I need this by Thursday. And the rest of the people are aggravated at them, and they know they make way more money. It is an ongoing, regular problem for many businesses.
Which is why some people don't pay sales commissions and even put salespeople on straight salary. But that's a conversation for a different day. In the time we have left, kind of the biggest story in entrepreneurial compensation, I think, over the last 5 or 6 years is this guy, Dan Price, from a company in Seattle called Gravity Payments, who got a ton of publicity when he decided a few years ago to give all of his employees raises so that everybody was making a minimum of $70,000 a year. It was in the news again. Recently, we had it in the morning report because he has bought a subsidiary and he did the same thing there. All along, this has created all kinds of publicity for him. I think there's been a Harvard Business School case study about him. He's become a kind of a brand name, and I'm really curious what other business owners think of him. There was another side to this story. He had some employees who made more than $70,000 who quit when this happened. He had some vendors, business owners who felt that this sent a very bad message and stopped doing business with him. There was a story in Bloomberg that he had some litigation with his brother who was a partner, and they raised the question of whether he cut his own salary because he didn't want to be liable for a larger payment to his brother if he lost the litigation. I'm curious what you guys think. How about you, William?
Well, I'm all for innovative ideas, and I love giving away things. I love being generous. And then with all those things I love, let me just put a caveat in, and I don't have an MBA. So I don't know, all the cool business rules, whether this is right or not, but something in me feels like this is a little bit of an idealistic chasing of a windmill. and it'll come back to earth.
Bloomberg called it a capitalist fairy tale.
That's kind of what I'd call it. I just don't see I don't see this as a universally applicable rule. Maybe it's cost of living in Seattle is going through the roof. I mean, real estate values are up like 15% year over year ever since Amazon and a lot of tech have moved in. So maybe to keep good people up there, you have to do unusual things. So maybe there's a contextualization, and maybe there are all these other things to fight with the brotherhood. But for universal application, I can't see it. I'm just a struggling preacher trying to build a business. So,
Dana, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think it served its purpose in part. I think he got the publicity he needed. I think it was a very, I think it was not a PR stunt, but I think that was more to it than just making sure that his employees were all compensated at $70,000. It's just not a model that would work for my business. And I want to caution business owners who, want to pay a salary. You want to make sure that the output, the work that they're doing. I know that, I've had conversations with people about salary raises, and they're like, well, this is what's going on in my life, so this company should compensate me for that. And my, thing has been, well, the company had no choice no hand in the decisions that you made in your life. If I'm in a certain situation or I have a gambling issue or whatever, well, I owe, $500,000. Well, the company, I have a job, I'm working here, you should help me with that.
Have you actually had somebody come and say that to you?
I've had people in my company who have felt that, I have made these choices and I'm here at this point in my life. I need a job that will help me compensate for that. And then I said, this is not this job, this job, this is what you do. And this is what I believe is a fair compensation based on my research in this industry. Right. And based on how I feel comfortable putting my head down at night when I see your check, I'm like, okay, that's fair. And so I just think we're getting into this period, Lauren, where we're, the business owner is the bad guy. Where back in the day, when you look at old movies, It's a Wonderful Life, where the business owner had the opportunity to be the hero. And it wasn't, oh, you're making money. Oh, you're awful. So when I read that article, I said, I think he got me to read the article, but it's just not something that I would do at Paralee Boyd, is pay everybody $20 an hour to make the statement of equitable wage. And at Paralee Boyd, everybody knows what everybody makes.
Interesting.
Yeah, everybody knows where they fall in the commission. They know what the lead starting commission is.
They know what they have to do if they want to make more.
Absolutely. Yeah, everybody knows. It's already the beauty business. It's already can be very competitive. Maybe
a little drama. Is there drama in the beauty business?
Oh, that's unique. And so let's just remove all that. She just started. And this is where she's starting at. Yes, she has 20 years experience, but she doesn't have 20 years experience at Paralee Boyd. And Paralee Boyd is different. So I just thought it was, I don't want to say a PR stunt, but I just said.
It could be, though. You could call it a PR stunt. That wouldn't be unfair.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you.
Now, Dana, you said something that I think you're right with paying market wages, but you said they made choices. They might not have made a choice. Maybe they've got a sick kid at home. Does that mean if someone has a horrible bad luck in life, that the business owner now, it's their responsibility? I mean, that's a slippery slope.
It's very slippery. Yeah,
now,
we've had that.
The problem with this guy's story, and Lauren, I believe you left the most important part out. The original story, he cashed in all of his money. He funded this business as though it was a non-for-profit. He decided that it wasn't important that he made money, and he's giving it all away. And the problem with that whole philosophy.
Wait.
Yeah, read the original story. He went ahead and he was cashing out all this stuff so he could fund this. That's what the story was.
I don't think that's right. His original salary himself was more than $1 million, and he cut his own salary to $70,000. But I think the company remained a for-profit business.
No, for sure. But I'm saying cutting your salary from $1 million to $70,000 is basically saying, I don't have any rights or expectations or needs as a business owner to make money. I'm just going to give it all away.
Well, wait, he still owned the company, and
he kind of does, but to what benefit? He just gave away the profits of the company to the employees.
I don't think we know that for sure. I mean, he retained equity in the business.
But what good is equity if you don't have profits? He's giving the profits away.
I don't think we know that.
Aha! There's the point. We don't know anything.
That's right.
We have no idea how much money he's making. We have no idea whether he's actually paying all these people. That the newest article I read about that ratio people use with how much does the CEO make compared to the average employee. That is preposterous in a privately owned subchapter S company, because what that means is if you own a $50 million company and you're making 2%, which would not be anything to brag about, and you made $1 million and you say, oh, that's terrible. This guy's making $1 million and his average employee's only making 40. They are dangerously close to going out of business because all that would have to happen is a hiccup. And now the company doesn't make money at all. That whole ratio should not apply to people that own the business. There's supposed to be a return on investment, and you need a return on investment for the longevity of the company to stay healthy in business.
You know, it's interesting, Jay, what you're just talking about now is one of the strongest arguments, I think, for doing open book management, which you raised before. The people who do it tend to make the argument that they decided to open their books because they knew that their employees just assumed the owners were making even more money than they really were, or way more money than they really were.
Or losing money.
Sure. By opening the books, they changed that. And they allowed employees to see how the business really does.
Well, Lauren, I'm going to push back on you there because so we're in an industry where we have a very clear margin. I don't want to go into those margins, but we need to clear a certain EBITDA to be a healthy business. That if we ever wanted to take on investors, they'd look at our books and say, you're healthy, you're clearing the right amounts. So if I had 100 stock owners and I were distributing our profits among 100 stock owners, nobody would have a problem with that. But because there's one stock owner, they'll look at the number and say, oh, that's too much. And so I don't know how to get around that. And I think it's a Pandora's box to open that. You want to talk about water cooler talk and murmuring.
Oh, my goodness.
I just don't see the value, and I push way hard against you, Lauren, as a guy who's the sole owner of his business.
For the record, I don't mean to be selling open book management. I just think it's a really interesting debate.
No, it shouldn't be a debate. Some people it works for and they're happy with it, and other people aren't. Now, right. The most misused word lately is the word transparency. That's good for government. It doesn't apply to a privately owned business. Since when is it? Oh, William, you need to tell everybody how much money you're making. You need to be transparent. Where did that come from? Who says that it's our responsibility to show transparency to everybody? It's really not right. It's not capitalism. It's not even healthy for the business.
Wait. I don't know, but it's not capitalism. Once again, I don't want to be in the position of selling open book management, but one of the things that does happen at companies where this works is if employees know that the company's not doing well, they often come up with ideas that wouldn't even occur to the owners.
No argument. Capitalism does not mean that you have to be transparent with everything you do in your internal business. That's all I'm saying. We don't owe it to the population or to our employees.
I'm just objecting to it's not capitalism. I think there are different ways to be a capitalist.
I do think it's a one-way street. I don't know how you open the books and then ever close them again.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Well, just to be clear, I'm saying government should include transparency. That's what government's supposed to be. It's our government. Included in capitalism should not be the notion that as business owners, we have a responsibility to be transparent. That's a crock. It's just not true. It's nobody's business if we're losing money. It's nobody except the bank.
Well, it's the employee's business, isn't it?
Did they sign the lease? Are they the ones that's going to lose their house if things go bad? How is it the employee's business? Explain that to me. They have a job.
But, people change jobs too. That's certainly something that they might consider if they have a job offer somewhere else.
Is that our responsibility to tell every applicant, oh, by the way, before you take this job, I just want you to know, I could be out of business in 2 years.
It was brought up during the Small Giants Forum, and I looked around like, okay, am I the only one here who thinks this is a little much? I would not do open book management at Fairleigh Boyd. Oh, no.
We are out of time. My thanks to Jay Goltz, William Vanderbloemen, and Dana White for another lively conversation on the 21 Hats podcast. Thank you all. Thank you all for listening.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, everybody. This episode was produced by Jess Thuberon, founder of Blank Word Productions. Remember, if you liked what you heard, tell your friends, tell your enemies, subscribe, like us, and best of all, connect with us. Follow us on Twitter at 21_hats and visit us at 21hats.com. Let us know what questions or issues you'd like to hear our panel of fearless business owners address. See you next time.